thought I would do a quick 8-week update on our homeschool curriculum. Children making noises. But we are coming into our time off. We do 9 weeks on, 4 weeks off. So we are almost ready for our first break of the year. So I'm super excited, but that means it's time to assess a little bit what's working and what's not. With my 10th grader, I wish I would have done more of that. I wish I would have stopped, and when I realized, I'm not going to use this again next year, it's not quite working, I wish I would have stopped then and found something else, even if that meant finding a free resource or taking the time to research free options at the library or online, and just moved her on earlier. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to repeat that again with my, look at my gray hairs again. Oh my gosh, it's time to dye my hair. But anyway, I don't want to do that again with my second graders. So we're reassessing and we're going to change some things. So I thought I'd give you an update on what we're keeping and what we're changing. Sorry, Norman, but you're sitting here. The first thing we're going to change is Math Mammoth. We are going to change we're going to stick with Math Mammoth. It's working very well for him. It's challenging, which is what I wanted for math. He needs something challenging in math. So we are going to continue to use Math Mammoth. We switched from CLE last year because CLE was just too gentle for him, and this is really great. If you have a student who isn't super math, no, you cannot go on the table, super math minded, I think Math Mammoth would do well. It would just have to be tamed down, gentle, you'd have to teach it more gentle. If I use it for my kindergartner, eventually I'll probably slow it down with him a little bit, teach it slower. The other thing I'm going to continue to use, and I was really pleasantly surprised with, was the Ordinary Parent's Guide Teaching Reading. I did get it from the library before I ordered it, so I knew what it was, but I was afraid that it was going to be a little bit dry. I mean, we're coming from Logic of English, which has lots of pictures and lots of activities, and lots of workbook pages. So I thought, well, is he going to be totally bored? Is he going to hate doing it? And I've been really happy with the way it's laid out. And my son interacts with the stories. He laughs. He giggles. He'll read a sentence and say, "Well, that was silly," and or "Wow, that would be whatever." And so he's really into the stories, which is really great because then he doesn't mind reading them so much. And there's a bit more context, in my opinion, with the sounds. Like, it's more like a Dr. Seuss book where you're reading the same sound over and over and over. It is a different approach to, just a minute, to teaching reading than Logic of English, but I think that was a good, I think he needed a little bit of a switch. Not that either one of them is better or worse, but it was time to kind of come at it from a different angle. And this is working really well. And it's not completely passive. There are some activities. We did a scavenger hunt. One of the things that they did, this was really fun. Okay, so you make your own note cards. And I think what I'm going to do while we're on break is make, you would use this note card for maybe 7 or 8 different lessons. What I'm going to do is make a group of note cards for every single lesson. They usually don't use more than a few per lesson, but it's not necessary. It's way over and above. It's going to take me more time, but for a daily thing, there are days where it says pull out, this such and such note card, and I don't, because then that means I have to go and find it from the last time I used it, even though they're in alphabetical order, and I'm thinking, it's just don't want to take the time. With 4 kids, if I have all the lessons, I can just flip in my little container today, 128, and pull out the cards we need for that day. And you know what? That's going to make my life so much simpler, and I'm all about one less thing. And once they're done, that will be one less thing. And if I use this for all 3 kids, if I use it for 2 kids, one less thing, right? Lots of one less things if I use it for all 3 of them at some point or another. So this was another activity where you write the first part of the sentence and the second part of the sentence, and then the kids get to scramble them up, put them upside down, grab one from each, and they end up making some silly sentences. Like this would be Tom sat on a red mat. Well, that's not such a silly sentence, but let's do another random one here. The red fox fed his dog ham. That's a silly one. And it made my son laugh. It made me laugh. We came up with some really silly ones, and that was fun. So it's not as dry and dull and boring as it may look when you're just looking at it and thinking there's just black and white words on a page. So we're going to continue that with him. What we are not continuing on with my second grader is soaring with spelling and growing with grammar. Now, I was talking to one of my friends in our homeschool group, and I told her we were switching away from growing with grammar, and she had a son that used it. I don't know if he's still using it or not. He's in high school, so I don't know, does it even go up that high? And it worked really well for her son because the lessons are super, super short and really straight to the point. There's no frills. There's nothing. It's a lesson, and they're very short. They take like 5 minutes. Some are one page. Some are front and back. Like this one would be front and back. Okay, I had to put some Umizoomi on for my 3-year-old because my older boys are cleaning the room and he does not help. So I put Umizoomi on and got myself some ice coffee to tame the screaming and bickering between the 3 boys. So anyway, we are not going to be using growing with grammar again because one of the things I learned, and it was my goal, did I say this already? It was my goal this year to really zone in on my second graders' learning style so that I could make better decisions for him. And what I liked about growing with grammar for that particular purpose is that it's very, very neutral. Like it's very bland and new. There's no specific approach, to growing with grammar and soaring with spelling. So it was kind of a tester. And, if that would have worked for that kind of neutral, just basic information, that would have been great. Now, I had a pet peeve with it, and it is exactly that. It's just a pet peeve. If it had worked for him, I would have gritted my teeth and been fine with it. I'd just been personally annoyed. But let's see if I can find 2 lessons in a row that are the same thing. Here's lesson 6. Fragment, probably not. I think they only did 1 lesson on fragments. All right, like here, lesson 8. The subject part of a sentence includes all the words that tell who or what the sentence is about. Then you turn the page. The subject part of a sentence includes all the words that tell who or what the sentence is about. I know this is going to sound completely off the wall bonkers, but the fact that it repeated the exact same sentence or couple of sentences to tell you what something was without at least putting in front of it like you learned yesterday or as we learned yesterday, as you read yesterday, it was just the exact same, like they copied and pasted from one lesson to the next. And it's not a hindrance to kids learning. It's not anything wrong or bad, but it really bothered me for some reason. It was like meeting somebody that you've met before, and they know you've met them before, but they're like pretending like they don't know you. Like, let's do that. It's awkward saying hello again. I know that sounds bonkers. In my head, it sounds bonkers, but it really did grate on me. Like, hello, you just taught us this yesterday. Can we at least acknowledge that we read it yesterday? But there also, the other thing that bothered me about it that was okay is that because it was just copied and pasted instructions, there was no looking at it from a different angle. I realize these are very basic concepts, but I think they could have come at it from a different wording or whatever. So in case it didn't click the day before, let's get it from a different angle, explain it just a little bit differently, and maybe it'll click. And that part, I was like, okay, this is not my cup of tea, y'all. I like creativity. That's my right brain in me. And my son is left brain, so it was very possible that that would have worked for him. But it didn't. And what I learned mostly from this and from the other things we did is that with my second grader, he needs context. He needs a little bit of, not necessarily a story, but he needs something to like sink his teeth into. And I'm kind of this way. When I was in school, I took some anatomy classes, and we had to have all the bones memorized, and we had to memorize all the muscles, all the muscle actions. I mean, like, there were like what the muscle actions, their insertion point, so what bone they were attached to, and it was a lot of information to fit inside my brain, and I needed something to like hook that onto. So I told myself silly stories, made silly comparisons, things like that, so that I had some kind of connection to the information. And I've learned through this, mostly this, but some of the other things he's using, that he needs that also. He needs to have some chunk of information to hook the basics into, that he can then, you know, put it in his memory and remember it. Just spitting out that the subject can be is who or what the sentence is about. Here's an example. Here's 5 sentences. When we go to do it again the next day, it was like starting from scratch. And then the next day, like from starting from scratch. And we did that with math with my daughter. Long division was awful. Like, she could not remember from day to day how to do it. And a lot of that was repetition, some videos, things like that. But English doesn't have to be just repetition, even with just subject and predicate and such. So, so we are switching this. And spelling was a lot the same way. Obviously, we're doing words, but like there didn't seem to be word rules. Like here where the A and the I say A. Let me see if it even gives the rule. I guess this one does. This is when A and I are beside each other, or side by side. The A vowel usually makes its long sound, and the second vowel is usually silent. So that one it does. Not all of them does it do that, but that's it. That's the entire explanation, and it's memorizing a list. I had no problem starting them off with list memorization if it worked for them, and I'm not going to say it's not working for him, but it's certainly not. I don't think he's really absorbing anything. These are very simple words. He did spelling and logic of English much more complicated than these words. If you've gone through foundations or peeked at foundations, their spelling is pretty complex. So I think it's more that it's just kind of on the easy end for him. So again, I want to do something that's going to give him something to attach what he's learning to. So we are going to be using... silly, I know I just ordered it. It's Pace Aces, or it's Ace Paces. I know, I bought it, now I can't remember. I've never used them before. I've seen them here and there. I've seen some criticism videos of it, and I've seen some pro videos of it. In fact, last night right before bed, and I ordered these the day before yesterday. Last night I went to bed and I watched Just So Trish. I'll link to her. I'm going to mark that down. I watched Just So Trish. This is most recent video. And like I said, I'll link to that in the description bar in case you don't know who she is. But she's switching from... Okay, I don't know what that loud noise was. They're in there cleaning, so... But anyway, she is switching. She's used the PACE in the past, and she's switching to CLE. And I was like, don't do this to me. You're going to make me second guess my choices. But I listened to the whole video, and I listened to her reasons for switching to CLE. And I love, love, love CLE. My daughter used tons of it. She used language arts all the way through. She used math all the way through, both of them up until high school, almost from the very beginning of when we started homeschooling. And I do love CLE. I wasn't crazy about their first grade social studies. There were some things in there that I just didn't like. But anyway, their math and their language arts is great. And I did consider it for a few minutes. I went and looked at samples again for my second grader. The problem with that, one of the problems with switching to that right now would be that they have a lot of, no, I know. They have a lot of like phonics markings. You know, they mark all the sounds, and that was all included in that for helping to spell. And since we didn't start out with that, we did logic and English. I feel like I'd have to teach him all of that or cross off a bunch of the parts of the lesson. And maybe it's not as big of the lesson as I'm thinking. But anyway, my gut has always told me with him, stay away from CLE. So I'm listening to my gut. He's very active. He's very, he's focused on getting his work done. He's like, if I'm going to do it, let's do it and get it done. So for that, CLE would work for him. But I do think the language arts would be too intense for him very quickly. I think it would be too much. And I don't think that it would suit his learning style. So even after watching that video, my initial, don't tell me you're just switching from, because now I'm questioning, is it really the right choice? But I only ordered 3. I ordered 3 of the little workbooks for English, and I ordered 3 of the little workbooks for spelling. So, and they're not very, they're like $2.70 a piece. So it's not like we're out a lot. If it doesn't work, we can switch. I'm hoping to stick with something though. That's the goal. But I'm hoping they have, if you haven't seen them, I'll do an unboxing on Tuesday when they come. But they're very colorful. They have a little comic strip at the end of the lesson. They follow a character named Ace. So I'm hoping that if they're broken, just put them over by the garbage. Okay. I'm hoping that will be a good fit because it has that story and that connection. And if okay, interrupted again. But anyway, so we're gonna go with Ace Paces and see how that goes. And I'm hoping it works. And if not, we'll move on. But for reading, we're still doing this. Like they have a reading. Whoa, there's my cat. They have a reading, English, like language arts, and a spelling. So we're gonna continue with this with reading because it's working. I'm not gonna. Don't fix it if it's not broken. Now for my kindergartner, we are not going to continue with this. My kindergartner's 5.5. He has none of his basics because I had originally planned to use Logic of English with him. And Logic of English, it says in the beginning that they do not want, I mean, obviously you can't avoid it if they are, but it's beneficial to the curriculum if they come to it not knowing the letter names or the basic sounds, like A says ah or O says ah, because they teach in a totally different style and they don't teach the letter names right away. They teach the symbol A and then they say this letter says a ah, and the I says it I y are the 3 sounds for the letter I. So you'd hold up the I card and they would say all 3 sounds from the very beginning. So with that in mind, I never had him watch Leapfrog. We never sang the alphabet song. I mean, he's 5.5, doesn't know the alphabet song because my original plan was to start him off with Logic of English, and that's, kind of where we were at. Now, my 5-year-old or my second grader did know his letters and basic sounds when we started it, and it wasn't really a hindrance, so we could have, but I just didn't worry about it with my 5-year-old. So anyway, but he is my very creative, my very silly child, and he's motivated by smiles and hugs, but he doesn't like direct questions. Like if you ask him straight out something that he knows, he'll smile and kind of play shy. if you're playing a game and laughing and joking, he'll spit out all the information he knows. In fact, we were sitting here one Sunday evening discussing, Sunday school and church, and everybody, even the 2-year-old or the 3-year-old, said something that they learned from church. And my kindergartner, my 5-year-old, wouldn't answer. And then after dinner, when I was cleaning up and everybody was relaxing, he went up to my husband and said, "Daddy," and told him something that he learned, because it wasn't being asked like a direct question. So, and at 5.5, I'm not worried about that. Like if he's 15 and still not doing that, somewhere along the line we'll address it if it continues. But at 5.5, I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to find a roundabout way to teach him and ask him questions and get out of him what he knows, rather than pushing, hey, you need to be able to answer these direct questions so we know what you know. That's just not necessary, in my opinion, at this age. So what I'm doing for him, some of you that are my age may laugh, we are going to use Hooked on Phonics. I remember those silly commercials from when I was, high school, maybe. Hooked on Phonics works for me. And it was kind of a joke. I thought it was kind of this joke thing. But I used to follow, she's not very active anymore, Kelly Crow. And if you don't know who she is, I'm going to mark that down to link to that. She is a hoot. I'm going to link to my favorite Kelly Crow blog post. But she is just a hoot, and she homeschools 3 boys. And so I looked on her thing when I first started homeschooling. I only had 1 boy at the time, who was nowhere near school. So I looked at her thing now, and I've gone back to it. And I remember she used, I think for her youngest, she used Hooked on Phonics. And so I thought, well, let's look that up and see. And it's video based, and it has a worksheet. And when you do the worksheet, it comes with stickers. And after you're done with the worksheet, you get a sticker. Now, my kindergartner loves mazes, loves doing independent paperwork when he can. Obviously, he can't do a lot yet. Loves to sit and do his thing, and he's motivated by smiles and hugs. I'm thinking, maybe we can add stickers to that motivational list. And if we can add stickers to that motivational list, I can give him a paper, let him watch the video, because he loves cartoons and such. And maybe that will be a great fit for him. Sorry, interrupted again, so I'm gonna have to try.
I can't move it, see?
Okay, yeah, I think it's okay. And the cat's hair is tickling my nose. But anyway, so it's video based, and because we were planning on doing the logic of English, so I haven't taught him his basics. I'm starting at the very first level for pre-K. I think there's 2 levels for pre-K, 2 levels for K, 2 levels for first. I think that's how it is. I'm going to do an unboxing. That should come on Tuesday, and my paces should come on Tuesday. So they're supposed to. They're coming from different places. So when I get both of those, I'll do an unboxing and show you guys. But he loves cartoons, and he's very interactive with them. He doesn't just sit and watch and just kind of zone out. So I'm hoping that combination of things will work well for him. So I'm kind of excited about that. Plus, he can watch those while I'm doing reading with my 2nd grader, and I think that might work better. My kindergartner did not really like this. And maybe in the future we'll use it like we did for my other one, where we start with Hooked on Phonics and moved into this. Because like we did this, what does E say? E says eh. And he would just giggle and smile and laugh and do his own silly creative Logan thing. But so Hooked on Phonics for him. And that's pretty much it. He's doing some mazes and some worksheets, and he's not doing a lot in kindergarten. Okay, so oh, he has his own one of these that we do that he has fun with. One thing we're adding in, I showed you in my curriculum haul, but we haven't used it yet. When we start back up in October, we're going to start this with my 2nd grader, and this just has some fun little reading activities. And you can see there's different levels. So we'll be doing the level 1. And if we don't, well, I'm going to write in it. Who am I kidding? If we didn't write in it, we could use it again and just do the level 2 stuff. But they have all these different ones. So I'm thinking maybe at this point we'll probably do 2 a year. There's 66 pages. I think each page is an individual lesson. Maybe some lessons are 2 pages. But I'm thinking 2 of these a year will be plenty. So we'll do 1 and then we'll take a little break from it and we'll do another one. And then as I was going through my little homeschool cover over here, I found this. Now I bought this forever ago because when my littlest were even littler, I would buy a bunch of these dollar workbooks at Dollar Tree, so that when they wanted to have that morning time with mom too, and they wanted to do school, even though they didn't have a clue what school was, I could stick one of these workbooks in front of them with a pencil and they thought they were doing school. Now this one is not marked on hardly at all. I think there's like 2 pages that are marked on at the very beginning. So I thought, I know it's first grade, but I thought this might be some great independent morning work for my my 2nd grader. There's just some easy things, but my 2nd grader does everything crazy fast. Like, he doesn't do anything slow. So it's hard for me to take a breath during the school day with him. It's hard for me to like just take a sip of coffee. He doesn't do things sloppy, or I would make him slow down. So having an extra little thing to give him when I'm like, I just want a cup of coffee, I want to go pour my cup of coffee and I'll come right back and sit. So do this, do this, and then we'll get back to your work. So I think that was everything. I hope that was everything. But anyway, so I will, all those things that I linked to, I will, I made myself notes, so I will remember to put those in the description bar. If you have questions, let me know. If there's anything, I do have one more thing to show you. I hope you all stuck around. I need more coffee, I guess. And didn't leave as soon as I said I was done. Because I ordered this for free from C-SPAN. You don't even have to pay shipping. It's American President's Timeline. And I was super excited because I thought, I can put that on my wall. We have that up. We don't really have anything on our walls for homeschool. We don't have a ton of wall space. We've got these windows. We have like a fireplace and some tall furniture. So, but I thought, that's one thing I can put on the wall. Guys, it's huge. I mean, look at that. It's enormous. This is not going on my wall. So, I don't even think I have a wall, probably in the hallway, big enough. But it's super cool. So I think I will link to this also because this is free from C-SPAN. Like I said, no shipping or anything. And they had a bunch of other free resources that I didn't take the time to look at the time I got this, so I wouldn't forget. And I figured as long as I had this sitting around, I would remember, hey, C-SPAN has free resources. So check that out. But I thought my daughter's doing American history this year, so I'm thinking maybe once in a while I can just like spread it out in the living room and write out a bunch of questions. Like, what year was such and such, or how many years did so-and-so do such and such? And then she will have to use a timeline and find it. So I think that's what I'll do with it, since it's not something we can just have hanging up in the background. But still, kind of a fun little neat thing. My husband, I took it out yesterday and looked at it, and my husband's going to have to fold it because he's better at that map type folding than I am. So I'm going to have him fold that up tonight. But anyway, I just want to let you know that that is out there. We'll link to that in the description box as well, and you can sort of peruse C-SPAN and all the things that they have available. So in the meantime, guys, happy homeschooling.